not a thought of giving in. I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. Win it, take a swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together, this is big things. Doing big things, chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real, this life's all that it seems. All the chicks scream, all the dudes yell. This is just what I do and I do it well. With the flow fresher than the new shoe smell. Going through hell, well homie keep going. You know the saying, you can reap what you sow in. So I don't chase girls, I just chase dreams. Play the same game, but we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone that died, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to learn all about a niche business. I am excited, all about headshots, photography, so stay tuned. This is your first time tuning in. This is the Oz Digital Studio, where we film the Boca Raton Shrimp Tank in collaboration with the FAU Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. We come to you live every Thursday, 4 p.m. on Facebook, of course, and of course on Instagram. Check out all our clips each week. And then, of course, all the podcast apps these days, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Apple Podcasts, or even Google. So today we got Dr. Kidwell back in the shrimp tank today. How you doing, Dr. Kidwell?
I'm great. I'd like to welcome everyone to Florida Atlantic University, the secret location of the Oz Digital Studio. Right across the hall from the wonderful FAU Adams Center and the Department of Management Programs. It's a short walk to the shrimp tank. I enjoy making it.
Is this public now? I remember for a while there we weren't sure we were allowed to announce that.
Oh, everybody knows we're here.
Oh, they do. All the students are packing
They're
the parking lot
clamoring
today,
to
so
get
now
in.
they know.
Yeah, they're clamoring to get in.
Yes, they
We
are.
have our coordinator here, Jennifer Granger. She just started with us a couple weeks ago, and it's a pleasure to have her in the office. She's joining us on the show here. Maybe she'll ask a question about a headshot. She just had some headshots taken this week.
Wow.
Maybe if we had the pictures, our guest might be able to critique them. But
So question for you, now that it's public and we put a big shrimp on the building over here on the FAU College of Business, what are we waiting for?
let me figure out how much that will cost you.
Okay.
Because you'd have to pay for that. But I think
But that's okay.
I don't think
we could
so.
raise some. We could raise some money from some of our past guests.
Yeah, sure.
And why not throw a big shrimp on the top of the College of Business?
I think you'd
Home
have to go
to-
through a few protocols for that to happen. But
Hey, let's go for it.
we'll see.
You know, I'm a man of my word. If you're telling me we can put a big shrimp, I'll find the way to pay
oh,
for
I'm
it.
not telling you that.
Well, we could start the process, right? We'd start the process by applying to put a big shrimp above the College of Business.
Could be.
Hey,
Yeah.
think about all the donations coming in from all the guests then come on the shrimp tank because they were part of that shrimp. We'll put different faces in the shrimp of the past guests that have been on there in order to be a donor. I'm coming up with this on the fly, but this is genius.
Dream big.
This is.
Go big or go home. Anyway, hey, we got one of our students is up at the Florida Venture Forum today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's up there with Dr. Cox, Brandon Feinstein. I'm just have a little notes here.
Okay.
Founder and CEO of Fit Oven. It's a vending machine designed to sell affordable, fresh, and healthy meals, accommodating different dietary lifestyles and etc. And these meals are cooked in an internal microwave and served in under 3 minutes. Have you ever seen a healthy meal out of a vending machine?
No,
I
I've
usually
not.
see Cheez-Its and Snickers. At any rate, if they get to 4 days old, they're nearing their shelf life and they get donated to the food pantry. And they're coming in reusable containers, too. So he's pitching that up there at the Florida Venture Forum. We've had students go up there. We've had people at the Tech Runway go up there, and they've been successful. And wish them all the best.
That's a pretty cool concept. I never heard of that before, but it makes sense. If you're in an airport, you don't want to stand online, go to the vending machine and get something fresh, right?
There you go.
I totally see it.
I would say you should invest in that instead of the shrimp on the building.
Why not both? Everyone always goes either or. I
have
go
to
for
make
both.
choices.
They're
Okay.
both good decisions.
Well, I bet you we want to talk to David, right?
Well, let's kick into our episode today here on the Shrimp Tank. This is the show. We get to interview the best and brightest entrepreneurs all over South Florida, find the do's and don'ts of running a business. And, of course, these days we're even taking these guests and bringing it on to Owl App, which we introduced last week, right? And what's cool is now you can pick all these guests' brains one-on-one over an audio call. So David Roth is in the house today. He runs DHR Headshots down here in South Florida. I'm excited to learn, why the Florida Marlins chose him to take all those headshots that they take every single year. So, David, Thank you for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank. To start things out, tell us a little bit about what it's about. What do you do?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, for everybody that made this possible. I feel really special today, right now, so thank you for having me here. It's my second time here on the campus at FAU, so it's really nice to be here. This place is growing like crazy, so I love to see it.
Imagine when they have a big shrimp on the roof, right?
Yeah,
All
if you
sudden.
put a shrimp, everything will come off the rails.
There we go. I got one laugh finally. It took like the 12 joke to get him to laugh.
Oh, those were jokes. I get okay.
Yeah, jokes with some seriousness. You know I'll do it.
Okay.
It sounds like he'll do it, so yeah. So I'm a professional photographer. My niche is headshots, and the Marlins is one of my biggest clients, and I've been shooting for them for 4 years now. And I wish I could say that I do their headshots, but I really don't. My past prior to niching into headshots is really publishing, advertising, marketing, and photography was always woven through that. And I think that's why they chose me to do what I do down there, because I really am a guy roaming the stadium or community events looking for special moments, making it look like people are having a lot of fun at the ballpark, which they are all the time. So I get to be in something that I really love. I was kind of talking about it earlier. I'm a fan. I grew up a huge fan of the Marlins, watched them win 2 World Series relatively quickly in the scheme of things. And that's really what it's all about. So, I niche into headshots. It's 80% of my business, and the Marlins make up that little piece. It's really the only thing outside of studio headshots that I do. And I'm super proud to be part of that team every time I walk in there and walk out.
So explain more what you do with them, I guess. When you say you don't do headshots.
So what I shoot for the Marlins is all marketing images. If you go to their website or see ads, any kind of digital ads that they do, when you're in the game and you see all the stuff on the jumbos and stuff like that, the marketing teams within organizations like that, look at game day as an opportunity to collect collateral, for any marketing that they have to do. And obviously when we buy tickets to stuff like that, we're, subjecting ourselves to those pictures. So, of course, if somebody doesn't want their picture taken, we do that. But, if you're in the ballpark having fun, it's free game, and I go out to try to find that.
But these are photos or videos as well?
Photos, just photo. I shoot only photo. There's a video team that does the same thing, roaming, so you'll see them doing that same kind of thing. But yeah, if you want to end up in a Marlins ad with your kids or something, just hit me up at a game, and we'll make sure they look like they're having fun eating popcorn or something. And
we're bringing the jumbo shrimp. We're going to get our jumbo shrimp on this table.
Yeah, I think Billy the Marlin likes shrimp, so that could work out. I don't know.
Roland, looks like we're going to go to a game soon.
Well, not soon. I think the season's over. It's going to be a few months.
That's soon. A few months.
Season's
not so
over for
far
the Yankees,
away. Time
buddy.
flies.
Yeah, how about that? Tell us about headshots.
Yeah.
What prompted you to get into headshots?
That's a really good question. I had done a lot of headshots before I niched my business into headshot photography, but more than anything, I would say it's driven in a lot of ways by the pandemic. I started my company in 2014 after 6 years in publishing, 3 years in advertising, 2 years in radio. And, for me, it was all about maybe more clearly defining myself in the business space. I wouldn't say I was striking out at anything, no pun intended. But, when somebody asks you, what do you do? And your answer is not that clear, maybe even after a decade of doing it, then maybe there's an issue there, or something. So I have to give credit in a lot of ways to, what happened in the world with the pandemic, but also finding a mentor who was speaking my language, who was, 20 years down the road of just shooting headshots. Which was super eye-opening to me. Like, how could that be a thing, But, when somebody speaks your language, you zone right in, and that's really what happened to me. So I'm going to give it up to Peter Hurley, my mentor and friend. If you Google best headshot photographer in the world, they're going to tell you that he's number 2. I don't know how Google comes up with these things. He's number 1 in my heart, in my book. But yeah, I give a lot of credit in that way to mentorship, and I can't speak enough about seeking the advice of people that are doing what you want to do, thriving at it. I mean, I feel like for a decade, I spent my life in business walled up trying to, protect something that wasn't even there.
So you were just a photographer,
yeah,
generally.
and saying yes to every kind of,
Okay.
do you shoot weddings?
Family.
Do you shoot babies? Do you shoot? Yes, exactly. And, taking whatever I could get, when today I can sit here confidently and say that if you're shopping for anything, especially for a certain type of photography, go to a photographer that specializes in exactly what you're shopping for.
Why would the pandemic what was the impact? How did that create an impact?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Well, number one, the first thing is it created urgency, because my calendar of events, a lot of my stuff was event based, shooting charity galas or conventions or, all these things where there's 1,000 people gathering. So that was the main driver, because my calendar went clear in March of 2020. And, I say it all the time. I'm sitting there on my back patio staring off into the distance, and I knew that it needed to get much more focused, what I was doing. Then an old client who I had done a headshot for before needed a new headshot, and that was it. It was really at that same time that I found my mentor and never looked back.
So you could go to your old clients or current clients and say, do you need a headshot or something like
Yeah.
that? How'd you build that out?
So it really is weird, and I feel blessed because social media is my driver. I take your headshot, you post it on your social medias, various social medias, and your world sees how wonderful you look, how confident you look, like you really know your stuff. And
I've got a new one.
Yeah, you see?
Roland, there's your. You can just hit
Like
that
he
on
like he looks like a
repeat
guy
what
that
you
would
just said there.
gladly
Look at that.
gladly put a shrimp on the side of the building. But
I like how he's teaming up against you, Roland, on this. He's on my side.
the
Oh, we got the buzzers out here now.
so then the people in your sphere see that, and inevitably out of that sphere would come some more business, probably. So that really is the main thing for me. I always say every head. What's my target market? People with heads, and after that, really the product sells itself in a lot of way. But there's a lot to it. I think that a lot of people are very, very surprised when they come into my world, because a headshot seems like the simple, quick thing, and the level of detail that it deserves is different than that. So
Yeah, so let's talk about mentors for a second, because we hear this nonstop, like, oh, get a great mentor, but it's not that easy sometimes. So like, how did you get number 2 person in your field to actually be your mentor?
So that's a great question, because I think in most cases, like I always use the analogy, like I went and found the Michael Jordan to so and exactly, like you could never get Michael Jordan to help teach you how to shoot a basketball, probably, but Peter Hurley has a community of headshot photographers that he started 11 years ago. It's called the Headshot Crew, and they're within there are, over time have been, something like 11 or 12,000 photographers, but there's probably a couple hundred active members of the group. And it was like, I DM'd Peter and bothered him and told him I was going to be his best friend.
You asked.
Yeah,
That's the first step.
I asked.
You'd be surprised how many people never take that first step to ask. And I'm like, most people that I've talked to, that's what they did. They just literally DM'd someone.
It's exactly right. I asked, and then I started showing up. And after that, it was really it. And I feel so fortunate to be a part of his world and what he's created, because somebody like that changes people's lives in a lot of ways. And those other people whose lives he's changed are, family to me now. And when I travel, I was in San Diego a few months ago, and I had a meal with the best headshot photographer in San Diego, because
That's awesome.
he's in my world now. So so many extra benefits to my life came from it. But
you brought up 3 very interesting points. Number 1, you just sent a message. Took you that initial step to just ask, right? That's number 2, is asking, of course. And then pretty much showing up. So often entrepreneurs, they always wonder how people become great entrepreneurs. They come through. They show up on time. You got here at 3:20, not 3:30, right, for the show. And so often, everyone's like, why are they the best entrepreneurs? It's because they just show up. Good things happen to people that show up all the time. And there's no different than how Roland and I got connected. I showed up one day on his doorstep, and I talked to Kevin Cox first, and I said, you guys want to do a podcast? I just asked. And then Roland, came into the mix, and he asked us. He's like, can I join too as another co-host? And we're like, absolutely. And at the end of the day, we got 170 podcast episodes. But it all started by that initial step to just ask. And everyone always wonders, like, how did you form a podcast, with FAU? It's like we all took risks together, and now, we're putting big shrimps on the top of buildings. Right, Roland?
Not yet.
Soon.
Crickets.
We'll get that up there in 6 months.
Let me ask you, go back a little bit and talk about how you became an entrepreneur. You were in I think you worked for a magazine. You were doing some work there,
Yeah.
and I even saw you were a night auditor at Marriott way back when.
In college.
Yeah, maybe we'll save that one for the plead the fifth because there are probably some good questions there.
Oh, man.
But what did you do, and what was the circumstances where you decided to start your own business?
Sure. I think it's in my DNA, most honestly. I think in a lot of ways I was predispositioned for it. My parents are entrepreneurs. My dad's dad was also an entrepreneur. So it certainly, I grew up behind the counter of a jewelry store and a gift shop in Sunrise. My dad closed the doors. My parents closed the doors in 2003. It was called the Treasure Chest. But, from toddlerhood, I was standing on the other side of a counter opposite from customers. And I think in a lot of ways having very grown-up conversations for a toddler and aiming to please and, add value to their experience in this place. My parents had a playroom for me in the back, literally. It's like there were 3 rooms back there, and then the jewelry store and the gift shop in the front. And yeah, one of them was totally decked out like toddler playroom. And so I really think that, I think, that was probably just like, just by being there and feeling that and watching them do everything. I talk all the time now, in my sessions with clients, because I really do. I'm like 90% therapist and 10% photographer. I mean, taking a good picture of somebody in their true light is about getting them to forget that there's a camera there. And it's kind of like here. People probably walk in and they're a little intimidated by all the equipment and everything. But then the conversation starts and you forget about all that stuff. So in a lot of ways, that's what it is. But I give credit to my parents. If it wasn't this, it would have probably been some other kind of business.
This is the first business you started?
It is. Yeah, it is. And, why photography? I don't know. I think, again, always was probably in me. I mean, I was always hogging the family camera on vacations and won like some Broward County Fair award for a picture when I was like 5 or 6, just randomly. But I think it took me until about 33 or 34 to kind of start saying, okay, all these jobs I had and all these experiences I had and the degree I got, equals this. And truly, when I stepped into that, it felt right, So I think that was kind of the genesis of it.
Let's talk about niche for a second, because this comes up on the show a lot. Everyone has these amazing ideas, and they're too broad, right? And then they can't really explain their company in 60 seconds, like you said earlier, right? And I'm a huge fan of niches. Whatever sector you're in, literally go down that lane strong, and obviously that ends up blossoming for other opportunities typically. So, you said you figured it out finally. So kind of go into more detail of, the benefits you've seen from, going general versus niching down, and then how that niche then started to actually expand things out again, right?
Yeah, it definitely does. Because once you niche down into it, you realize that, okay, this niche applies to so many scenarios.
Which a lot are afraid to do. They're like, I don't want to just work with, hairdressers. Like I'm just using that example because there's only so many and everyone needs headshots, but then all of a sudden the hairdressers then push it out to everyone else.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, certainly the social climate of the world we live in and the digital climate, social media, dictates that it's not just actors and models that need headshots anymore. We all use a headshot on social media, whether it's a selfie or a professional one. We have pictures of our heads in these little bubbles. So yeah, I mean, I was confusing people. I was living a life of saying yes to all kinds of gigs, and then not striking out, like I said, but delivering product at maybe 80% or something, which might be good enough for some people because they don't know the difference. But when you get comfortable enough, finally calling yourself an artist, which took me a long time. As I take a big breath, right? Like, to call yourself an artist feels like this really strange thing. But when you step into it and say, that's what I am, niching it down helps you just get more proficient at what it is you're trying to do. And I think that with the repetition comes the confidence. With the confidence, eliminates a lot of the fear that we have. Because, I have a little bit of fear every day. I try not to, I just told the world that, but I try not to tell anybody that, but,
How many heads do you shoot a day?
I don't like to shoot really more than 2 a day if it's in. So I work in my home studio in Weston.
Okay.
If I'm not, shooting something corporate or in rented space, I don't really like to shoot more than 2 people a day because my sessions are unlimited, so to speak. Bring as many outfits as you want, and we'll shoot for hours if you want. I would say a male session usually lasts somewhere about an hour to an hour and a half, and a female can go a little longer. It takes a little more time to get hair in place and things like that. But really, two a day is my groove. On location, I've shot up to 38 in a day. It's a different experience, I prefer the more, like I was telling you before the show, I really prefer the more intimate experience because I get to know somebody. They get to know me. When we're done, we're connected. We're not, so when I go do a company that needs a slew of heads in one day, they're getting the product still, but, they're not getting the full experience, so to speak. It's more like a school picture day.
Of course.
That makes sense.
When you have these sessions, how soon after that will they come back for another one? And is it more like referrals you get out of this, or do you actually have...
My hair only gets grayer over time, Roland. Why would I want to come back? I'm just kidding, obviously.
Well, all of us do, but...
That's a great question. It depends on the industry and what they're using it for. So, social media, again, being the biggest driver, depending on the business you're in, some people want fresh images every day. You see it all the time, and not taking fresh images, but they want a catalog of images that every single day they're putting out something snazzy or once a week or something. So it depends really on the client. Once a year is more, typical for, the industry kind of, well, I'm a headshot photographer, so I'm always going to say it should be shorter than what I might really think. But we kind of say 2 to 3 years is a good time frame to redo your professional headshots. Some realtors and attorneys can be habitual offenders of using 20 and 30-year-old headshots.
Yeah, some of them don't want a new headshot.
It's ridiculous, though. Sometimes I'm like, you look 30, and I'm like, you're 75 years old. I mean, I've literally seen that before.
Yeah, I see it a lot, and I'm not here to jam headshots down anybody's throat, but let's look the best we can. I think that I tell people a lot of times we think we know what we look like when we're sitting in a room. We think we know what our expressions are like and but a lot of times we look a little more grumpy than we actually are. So it's certainly something I keep in mind a lot now. But I have people that come quarterly, because they want a fresh batch, and that's not always just a headshot. That can expand into something like more of a branding session where we get in their environment. Say they're a banker or something, so we'll get in their premises and be able to tell their story through the images a lot. So it's always on my mind. You asked earlier, what are the benefits of niching? And one of the biggest benefits is like simplifying. Once you simplify, then you know your process and how to get it done and how to make people happy with what they're coming to you for. And once you've done that, then like you said, you can really expand that out back into the world because you're like, this is my thing. And I'm here to do this. If you need this, I can help. If you don't,
and you're so confident because you've done the niche a million times. That's also what I noticed. There's no like pressure from you, like, oh no, I'm taking on a new client, and I kind of told him I could do it, but I really don't know what I'm doing. But when you're an expert at that niche, it's like over and over. It's like the confidence that oozes from you is phenomenal.
What you just said is like really how I felt for like a decade.
Yeah,
like, it's just like, why would you want to be set up in a way where when opportunity comes, you're scrambling to try to figure out how to get it done.
Which is my industry. I'm in the financial service business. Like, oh, I could do 99 million things for you, right? Or one thing very, very well, and then you have partners that do the other 5 things really well, and then it works out way better for the customer or client.
And what you just said is huge because, again, I was looking at the world as like this competition before, you know, other photographers and stuff. None of it matters. There's in our Tri-County area alone, there's like 6 million heads to choose from. You know, like there's plenty of room for all kind. I can't shoot 6 million people in a year's time, so there's no point worrying about competition.
And can you explain the detail of these photos? Because you do have a generation of people say, "Why do I need to do this?" I was on the BQE of New York City, and it said shot by a iPhone 14, right? And that's their famous photo on the BQE overlooking Lower Manhattan. You know, and you got a lot of people just take it on their phone today, right? So, you know, what you said, the attention to detail, people do not realize. Can you explain that?
Yeah, thank you. For sure. I think that what happens a lot of times, and I'm not saying that you can't get by with a selfie headshot or whatever for your purposes, but what I notice most for my clients is that, you know, man, it's funny. Like, these people are amazing. I deal with amazing humans all the time. And I find over and over again that if someone is coming into my world to invest in a headshot, that they're just next level in a lot of ways and across the board in everything that they're doing. So absolutely, we live in this world now where we have these little social media bubbles, and our time is so spent, and everybody's just flying through social media and not stopping. So what I go for is for my images to have expression that's going to draw people in a little more than the next guy. So, you know, you're getting somebody who, again, does this day in and day out and is keyed into things, you know, the placement of hair, you can't be relying on Photoshop thereafter. You want to shoot everything as right as you can right out of the gate. But I think that my clients look for an edge, and high quality images can give you an edge in the digital space.
Awesome. And how important it is with all these new apps coming out, like Clubhouse, it's all little circles. And I know when I'm on there and, you know, I'm looking at the stage, you know, that image, that little tiny circle, it's like the size of a penny, is so valuable, right? Why I click that person's headshot and then their bio, it started with what you just said. So super, super important these days as more of these new apps come out to the market, of course.
Yeah, it's strange, and I deal with it all the time because I tell my clients just about in every session, like, we grew up in this world where when you filled out your resume and applied for jobs, there was not pictures going along with it. You know, there was discrimination things that were keeping that from being part of it, and I don't know where that changed or whether that's good or bad. It's certainly good for my industry, but, you know,
of course,
we lead now with the way we look in this online space, and you know, we're all adjusting to that.
And last question before we go to a break is the cost for all this. Like, give us ranges. You know, I want to get my headshots done. You come to my office.
Sure.
Right? How does this work financially?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so I work with a session fee and then an image fee, and that lets my clients buy exactly what they need or want. You know, versus some package or whatever. So, yeah, my session fees are $190. You know, and that gets you in the room with me in my time, and then the images are $195, and a lot of people just need one great image. Okay. And then if, you know, they have a big operation and a crazy brand that they're always refreshing all the time, you know, people can go nuts and buy a ton of images. So I set it up so that you know what you're paying, you can get the quality, and if you just need one, that's it, you're done.
Cool. We're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from one of our sponsors. When we get back, we're going to jump to our Hot or Not segment of the show.
Insurance companies, it's time to step out of the past and into the future with Oz's latest solution, Rainmaker. Reduce 10 years of human work to merely days using intelligent automation to process contract and claim entries. Increase job satisfaction, productivity, accuracy, data insights, and ROI while decreasing the time spent on projects. It's a no-brainer. Follow the hashtag #MakeItRain on LinkedIn and Twitter, or visit followoz.com/Rainmaker to learn more. That's FOLLOWZ.com/REINMAKER.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Oz Digital Studio. We're right here when we film the Shrimp Tank at the FAU Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. Got to check the Adams Center's website out. They got amazing things coming up. this winter with all their different programs, of course, that Roland is always speaking about, and Kevin Cox. So, David, on this element of the show, it is called Hot or Not. We're going to jump into a topic. Tell us why it's hot or not for your business. So, first thing, I will say podcasting, right? Like, I just get the sense, like, if you meet all these crazy people, it's so easy. Just say, hey, why don't you come on my podcast? And then not only are they putting the image out, but then they're also verbally telling the world about your business. So podcasting,
Super
hot or not
Yeah.
for you though?
It's hot. Hot for me because while I have limited experience with podcasting, every time I've done it, it produces. So definitely hot, and obviously for all the reasons you mentioned. I mean, if you have a podcast, you must have the most highest quality images, and you must look really, really good. So definitely hot for me.
So is it in the cards for you in the future to have your own show, or you're hitting maximum capacity? So you don't. I mean, of course, if you have too many clients, obviously you could just charge more.
That
Right.
should, so I mentioned radio, but like growing up, I absolutely wanted to be a baseball announcer, and so yeah, I walked away from that, but that could be in the cards for me.
Okay, Travis, you might have another show to direct right after this one. It's going to be ran by David, of course.
Sounds like a plan. Let's get it started. Hey, I wanted to ask you, David, hot or not, LinkedIn marketing. I'll never forget last year I had someone direct message me on LinkedIn saying, hey, your headshot is ugly. Or
Oh, that was a good one.
maybe they use another very similar word. But luckily, I'm a professional photographer, and I'm here to increase your reach on LinkedIn by helping you with a better one. So that particular way he went about it was obviously not hot for me, although it did stick in my memory.
He was just being honest, Travis. Come on, if he said that
I guess so.
he could increase, your looks. You got to take them.
I guess so. So maybe you go about it a different way, or maybe LinkedIn marketing is not hot for you at all.
So nothing like an insult to get a relationship started, right? Like that's just awesome, but super hot. I mean, LinkedIn is on fire for me. For a few reasons. I mean, the business can come at me because they have these ProFinder requests that come and lets me know when somebody submits a form that they need a headshot, that they're shopping for one. But yeah, I definitely will slide into those messages. I'm not going to insult somebody, but I'm going to assert my presence and let them know that if they're shopping for that, I'm here to help with that. Even just yesterday, there was somebody in Jupiter who did that. And I said, hey, Michael, I'm David. I'm a headshot photographer. I would absolutely love to help you with this. I think I'm out of your range because I'm based in Weston. But, I have somebody in Stewart who you should absolutely talk to because it's a member of my community, my headshot community. And I think because of that, he's probably going to make the trip to Weston with his wife to get headshots. But, be genuine, be real, because there's real value there. Those are real people on the other side. So, yeah, when something like that comes across, or like the bots I get all the time that clearly can't even read that I'm a photographer, it's like you get bots and it's like not even in your industry what they're trying to sell you or something. So
just add a middle initial to your name. That's my trick. So then it goes Jason R, so that I know it's always a bot. No one else is going to do, hey, Jason R, right? So that's a little trick. Put an R next to your first name.
What kind of, I guess, is it hot or not to make strategic plans in your business?
Ooh, not probably, but the business guy in me probably should say that it's hot.
You don't have to.
But yeah, not. And I tell you what, because I just never, and it's why I love what I do in a lot of ways. I never know what's coming at me. And I say all the time, like on Sunday nights, when I see some people in my life getting a little grumpy because tomorrow's Monday, and they have to go do their Monday things, that I feel so blessed, because every day to me is just like opportunity to create. And that's what I love the most about my business, because and it doesn't matter if it's the Pope that needs a headshot or the pauper, I mean, I absolutely treat everybody the same and am excited to produce for them. So yeah.
Is the use of makeup by the people you're taking pictures of hot or not?
So it is hot, but I will say that 90% of the headshots I do don't use makeup, and I will give credit to the light that I use. It's designed to help people blast out some of the stuff that's going on human faces, and then of course we can touch up thereafter some stuff. But more than anything with headshots is that if you are going to seek makeup prior to getting a professional headshot done, just make sure that makeup artist has experience in headshot photography makeup, because it's a different thing. And a lot of times, if your photographer is using constant light versus flash photography, it can react very strange and make you look kind of weird. So there's definitely some things to know.
It sounded like also you were saying networking is pretty hot among the photographers, in the industry.
Yeah, it is. And, there's some people that, like I said, the people are always going to be fearful of competition, But no, I've been fortunate to find a really giving network of photographers who get way more out of seeing people succeed, knowing that there are tons of heads out there and, it's all good. So I've definitely adopted that philosophy. If there's somebody in the network of photographers that, pops up on my radar within, a couple hours drive, like I need to connect with them now. I need to, for reasons like I just mentioned, I need to know who else out there can produce at that level, because, I'm not going to be able to do it all. And there's so much, so much to be gained by having people that you can call, text, email when something in your business comes up. There's always going to be something that seems like it could stop you in your tracks and really muddy things up. And these kinds of relationships can help you just bust those doors.
So do you guys have a referral network going on, or is it just like you help me, I'll help you, or some other businesses work where like, hey, every time I refer someone, it's 30% of the cut?
Yeah,
vice versa.
Some photographers do that. I would certainly be open to doing it that way, but so far it's really been without that, without financial gain.
I find those are the more genuine ones.
Yeah,
because if you're always nickel and diming it, then the relationship falls apart.
Yeah, I mean it's different. I think in some cases where the business is big, if there's big business involved, then yeah, maybe. But one-off headshots with just individuals. I mean, it takes a lot of time and work and effort to get that done, and it's. It wouldn't really feel
so hot
right.
or not expansion, right? Right now you're a solo entrepreneur, right? You are the skill of this business, right? You're doing it all, but expanding where you have other photographers under you, hot or not?
Today it's not. If you ask my mom, she'll tell you it's hot. And she swears all the time that one day you're not going to be taking all those pictures, I'm telling you. And I can't wrap my head around that quite yet, no time soon. And then, of course, within the network of people that I talk to all the time, you've got people that want to do ginormous numbers, for whatever's driving them. And that's wonderful. And it's out there. But like anything, as a business owner, you get to decide what kind of business you're carving out, what your needs are, what your dreams are and ambitions. So, yeah, I don't know that, I'm probably too much of a caveman business guy to wrap my head around managing people and stuff like that.
Sometimes people get excited to scale, and then they come back and they turn it around and go back to being a solo entrepreneur because they think it's all cool and flashy what they see on social media today. They go to 15 employees, and I got 15 headaches to deal with, right? Every day on Monday, you come into work, and someone's not showing up, or there's an HR problem, right? There's a lot going in to risk once you expand, and we see it both ways. Certain industries work better with larger groups, with, of course, monetization and just how much profit's on the table by adding more people. Is there a lot in your industry, like 90% are solo, entrepreneurs and 10%? Like, what is the ratio of people who have teams in your field?
So I would say in the headshot industry specifically, it's mostly solopreneurs.
Gotcha.
There may be back office people or a virtual assistant once in a while that you'll see. Photographers that do more event-based stuff tend to have the teams. An event, a wedding photographer. Some of my friends down here that do that have teams of 6 or 8. Second shooters, editors, office people. So yeah, I mean, I never would have even imagined that I could niche this way with this kind of result. But now that when you see people doing it. A lot of times it came down to why not me? This is what I want.
Is there any franchising in this industry at all? Do anybody franchise in the headshot industry?
If there is, I don't know it. It wouldn't surprise me. I do know headshot photographers who have studio space East Coast and West Coast. So like they have, like I know a guy that has an LA studio and a New York City studio, which is awesome. But no, I haven't seen a franchise. Yeah.
What about good old Clubhouse right now? We're talking about LinkedIn. I mean, every photo on Clubhouse is just this little penny, right? Is that hot or not to you getting on Clubhouse to kind of go in there and chat, because then people see your bio and they're like, oh, you do headshots? Actually, and you right there and there, because it'd be like, your headshot's horrible, right? And if you clean this up, you get 100,000 more followers, right?
So my experience with Clubhouse, again, has mainly been within my network of photographers.
Okay.
So it's like it turned into like another place for people to congregate, and it's kind of funny
course.
because the way it started was like you could easily get on playing field with these big name people and turn yourself into something, or pretend, whatever.
Of course.
I don't know. So I was in there for a while, and I've since kind of not gone in a while.
Of course. Yeah, that's what happened to a lot of people, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it because it felt like radio,
Sure.
So that's.
Did you get a lot of business from it? Because that's the big thing. You have a lot of users on their profiles, and
Yeah.
then, or they're just all talkers and they're not spenders.
I didn't take any active approach to try
Gotcha.
to go after it. Really, I was more of a listener in my time there.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from one of our sponsors. When we get back, we're going to jump into our future focus segment of the show.
Are you having a hard time finding good people? The key to successfully finding top quality candidates is to expand your candidate pool. That's exactly what a virtual hiring event powered by Premier Virtual will do for you. Over 2,500 virtual hiring events later, more than 25,000 companies have connected with over 250,000 job seekers. These events are much more than a resume. Virtual hiring events give your recruiters the ability to meet and pre-screen candidates and decide if they're a good fit. The efficiency and effectiveness of virtual hiring events has reduced time to hire from an average of 30 days to just over 7 days. Premier Virtual has received the top rating for ease of use and customer support on software review sites like G2 and Capterra. We've also been selected a top 100 company to work for in Florida by Florida Trend magazine. Meet our veteran-owned Delray Beach-based company by visiting premiervirtual.com and schedule a free demo to see how you could host your first virtual hiring event within 24 hours. premiervirtual.com. It's time to take your hiring virtual.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Future Focus segment, which we are finding that every entrepreneur right now is having the biggest issue hiring. Right now, I don't know what is going on in the United States, of course, with all the hiring issues, but I keep seeing all of our past business owners on the Shrimp Tank tell me that they are just struggling. They have had people leave their organization, and they are up on Indeed, and all these different platforms, and they cannot hire anyone. They get the interviews, they don't show up. They offer them more money than the next person, and they don't take it. And Roland, you got your hand up, so
I do.
What are
I
your
want to
thoughts
plug.
about this subject?
I want to plug something that I just got put up on familybusiness.org.
Okay.
And if you go to that website, and maybe if you go to my LinkedIn, you could find it from there. It's 7 strategies to deal with a post-pandemic employee shortage and the issues in that market. So we've got about 7 different things you can do. I won't tell you what they are. You'll have to go look.
Ooh.
But there are some ways to get at it. Some of these are retention issues in terms of engagement with the employees, and some of them are recruiting issues, but most of them probably we would just consider to be common sense. But
Well, some
they
of it's
might be of
also
some use.
entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship's up 20%. I saw a stat recently. And
Mm-hmm.
what's happening is a lot of people are never going back, right? They're going right down the entrepreneurship lane, and they're going to stay there for everything that David was talking about, during this episode is he comes to work on a Monday and loves it versus waking up saying, oh, I got to go to work tomorrow, right? And people are going down that lane. Everyone's working out of their homes, and, it's really simple.
Well, we got to bring them back when they have that setback. Bring them back into the workplace. Let me ask you a question, though. In terms of a virtual hiring event, which is what Premier Virtual is all about, or part of what they're about, how many people get their headshots done to take part in that? Have you ever heard of anybody doing this? How does that tie back to your business?
Yeah, so that's a great question because a lot of my clients come to me at a transition point, for sure. So they're transitioning, whether the rest of the world knows it or not. I may be the only one knowing it at that time. But, yeah, a lot of people come to me at a point where they're looking for more opportunity. So, yeah, I haven't heard specifically virtual hiring events, but definitely job hunting for sure. And in industries of all types. I shot a nurse practitioner yesterday, and you say to yourself, what does a nurse practitioner need a headshot for? But she realizes that if she looks better than the other people applying for the job, maybe they take her more seriously. And my experience says that you should, because the types of people that invest in themselves in that way are usually good performers.
I agree. Right. Every time I look at different headshots that come in, of course, your eyes go to professional photos. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend to anybody, in a transition period or thinking about, job hunting, of course, invest in yourself in that way, because you're going to be taken more seriously, and that investment, is going to pay for itself really fast.
This is a funny one. What about dating ones? You got all these dating
yes,
apps.
It happens.
I probably should have saved that for Plead the Fifth.
It happens. I see it happen more often than not as a rider on a professional headshot session. At the end, let me do one with my leather jacket or something.
Sure.
and you're like, oh, okay, what do you need this for, Doc? But it has happened a few times.
They're like Match.com. You're like, nope, Tinder.
Oh yeah, they'll come at me straight from the start. Some people, and hey, power to them, because they probably get more attention there too.
Of course. Okay, so future focus all about hiring, finding good people. So when you have to hire support folks for what you're up to, where do you go to find people, and what's your secret?
Probably like the thing you're sick of hearing by this point, but my network of photographers can shake just about anything out, and vice versa. Just last month, I was an assistant on an on-location shoot in South Beach for somebody who's part of my network from New York who needed hands down here. So definitely I'm going to tap on my network first to see who is available and who has the experience to help me do stuff. But probably even my 5-year-old daughter could help me with that.
Now, what about Fiverr or Upwork? Do you go out there and sometimes hand some stuff off when it's just more images or video stuff that you just need to get done, and you could trust someone on that network?
I have in the past to see what the quality was like and what the result would be like, but I don't rely on outsourcing anything currently. With the post-production of my photos, I felt it was very important to get a handle on that myself first, so everything I do myself, and that in itself, it goes into the things that only headshot photographers will think about. Like in any industry, there's only certain things that you know and nobody else would, but color, I would say, is this ongoing battle. We all look like we look, we have our own tone and our own color, and your headshot, of course, should project your accurate color as best as possible. And in my world, there's sometimes a desire for photographers to have their portfolio looking all one way, but humans should look the way they look.
Okay, well, thanks for that feedback. We're going to jump into our last commercial, then get into our funnest segment of the show called Plead the Fifth.
Are you ready to make your indelible impression? DeRay & Company is an award-winning, full-service public relations and marketing agency with offices in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Aspen, Colorado. With practice areas in business, real estate, cannabis, nonprofit, legal, and lifestyle, DeRay & Company is fully equipped to help clients reach their goals with strategies that are on point. Whether it's public relations, social media, digital marketing, content development, or other services, DeRay & Company delivers results for business owners that address their business goals and reach their targeted audience. To learn more about DeRay & Company and our services, visit DeRayandCompany.com. DeRayandCompany.com.
Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, everyone. David, this is the Plead to the Fifth segment of the show. So the reason why we give you these shrimp is when you're getting stressed by all these questions that Roland is going to ask you in a moment, you get to squeeze it tight. And, of course, try to make it through this session without saying those words, I plead the fifth. You could only say it one time. After that, you're going to have to put some money up for the big shrimp that's going up at the top of FU, later on, in a couple months, of course. So, to kick things off, what has been a client, biggest PR nightmare where they got to call you in because they need headshots done because they're about to be on the news for a PR nightmare? We just heard of DeRay & Company talking about PR. I'm sure you've got called in and said, we need you.
Headshot for a PR nightmare, not so much, but there's definitely headshot emergencies once in a while, which, you would think couldn't be a thing, but it's like, oh, I've got this great placement in Forbes or something like that, and just realized I don't have a photo taken of me in the last 20 years, so I need this by tomorrow, kind of thing. And fortunately, I'm set up to handle that, and because of the repetition in my business, that that does nothing to me. It doesn't faze me, you know. If it's something that's needed really fast, there may be a rush fee for it, you know, in some cases. But fortunately, no PR emergencies, but headshot emergencies.
Okay.
Who is the most notorious person you've taken a picture of?
Notorious.
Well known or
yeah.
otherwise?
For me, it was a thrill when I shot a local guy, Nestor Torres. He's a Grammy award-winning jazz musician, and my parents played a lot of jazz music in the store, so I always remember Nestor Torres and Roberto Pereira were the names I remember. And you know, Fort Lauderdale would have jazz festivals in time, so it was just great. It was at the tail end of the Boca, the art festival, Boca Festival of the Arts last year. And I was shooting that for them, knew he was going to be around there, just asked if I could, you know, get in and take it. But I take all the swings. I'm constant. I call it celebrity hunting. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you can get through there and make it happen, you know, but take all the swings, because what's the worst they can say? No. So yeah, Derek Jeter, I'm coming for you, man.
What about the Marlins, though? You're around a lot of professional athletes.
I
right?
am. I am around them a lot. When I'm around them in the community is my favorite. You know, seeing them interact with kids down in Miami. They do a lot of work in the school system and stuff like that. So that's my favorite time to see them, because I get to see them as people. You know, when they're at the ballpark, they're in business mode, and when they're in the community, they goof around like kids. So yeah, I spent a lot of time with Sandy Alcantara in a couple of schools this year. He's just a lights out pitcher. Had 200 strikes out this year, and definitely going places. But I would say that I don't get starstruck easily, so that's part of the secret too, to get it done. You know, you can't start.
Now, did they ever hire you on a personal level? Or you're not allowed, right?
I have a contract. I would have to read.
Read
I
it.
never got into that fine print, but yeah. Man, every year when I sign that MLB contract to take pictures, I feel like a special day. I always send a picture of that to my dad, because believe it or not, I do sign an MLB contract to take the pictures.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's fun.
Well, tell us the story of the most difficult client you've had.
Fortunately, it hasn't gotten that difficult. I can say awkward. As I mentioned, I shoot out of my home studio, and I did have a client once who, despite, you know, being told on the phone that it's the home studio, and my sales collateral says it's a home studio and blah blah blah, you know, she pulls up to a home studio and is in, like, you know, ready to cancel. Like she literally told me that she was going to, you know, call me, cancel, and drive away. Which was one that only happened once, and it's actually funny that with that same person, she proceeds to, you know, tell a girlfriend where she is and what she's doing, which I highly advise. I have a wife and a daughter, and I would definitely want them to do the same thing if they were going to some dude's house to take headshots. She then proceeded to leave her phone in the car. About an hour and 20 or 30 minutes later, my phone's going off the hook with a number I don't know, and I said, I really have to pick this up because nobody ever calls me like this 5 or 6 times. And I pick up the phone, and there's a woman on the other end who says, my friend, ins her name here, and I just knew in a second that this was like her friend checking on her because she couldn't reach her, and it got really, you know, awkward and then funny really fast. And I realized, man, in another 5 or 10 minutes, if I don't pick up the phone, it's probably Broward County Sheriff knocking on my door. So yeah, I skirted out of that one, and she loved her pictures.
Turned into a repeat customer.
Yeah.
Tell us the most ridiculous requests you've ever received that you had to turn down.
In my business, it's, I mean, I don't know how ridiculous I could say it. It's ridiculous for me to do it because I don't know anything about it. But like bikini photos a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty common that
With the Instagram world, I mean, you get a lot of that. So I got to think
Yeah.
that
So those
someone's
aren't
asked you-
heads, though. I don't get it. Now you go below the head.
Well, remember, he did a lot of
Yeah.
general
Oh,
photography
okay.
prior.
I just say no is what I do. And then there are guys down here that just do that. So
So what is the ridiculous request, though? You didn't answer, really.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, so
Well,
you got to
it
tell
would-
us or plead the fifth.
It would only, gosh, I guess I have to plead the fifth on this.
Oh, after hours, we'll hear about that
Most
one.
ridiculous request.
Yeah, it sounds like it was pretty ridiculous. Okay. Roland, now it's free reign.
Who
You
takes
could
your
ask me
headshots, David?
The one I sent to you was taken by Peter Hurley. Outside of that, it's usually a selfie timer on my camera or my wife. My daughter's taken my headshot a couple times too because she'll get up on the stool and click the button. She's really funny because, I mean, of course, I never intend for her to be there during a session. She rarely is. But she'll slide a stool right over and sit right in front of.
So, are you developing a family business?
I mean, I tell my clients all the time that my daughter could absolutely run my business already because she's way ahead of me already. at that
How old
age.
is she?
She's 4.5. She'll be 5 in November.
Oh, just like you at the jewelry store, then. Huh?
exactly.
same thing.
Exactly.
So is the rule they have to leave while the client comes over, or they allowed to be
well,
there?
so my wife is a saint. My dining room is a studio, has been for a year and a half. My biggest fear is moving out into a space that doesn't provide as nice of an experience as I provide at the house. So I'm just kind of waiting and buying time, but I don't know how much longer I can do that to my wife. So I don't make them leave. Of course not. Of course I don't make them leave.
Okay.
But my wife will elect to leave most of the time.
So what's something that was left out by accident? You're right, that customer client walked in and you were embarrassed.
So absolutely, I mean, when you run a business where people are coming to your home, you definitely want to confirm the time of everything many, 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 many times. And, despite going through all the normal motions of making sure somebody knows when they're supposed to be showing up at my house, I had a client come an hour early, and I had just gotten done, cutting the grass. I was gross and sweat. I mean, leaves probably all over my face.
They're like, this is the guy?
Yeah, open the door.
5-star review
And
is this one?
She's just like, David? And I'm like, oh, and what do you get? What do you get? I told you noon. No, I mean, it's just like, okay, we can handle this. It's okay. Just sit here. Let me get something to drink. I'm going to take a quick shower. We're going to do this. And we did, and she loved her pictures too. So,
Have you ever had any requests to do pictures of hands, like in Seinfeld, with the hand model?
hand
thing?
models. I haven't yet, but I know that'll come up because my light would be really nice for hands.
Well, we're talking to you in October here, David. Have you had any spooky photo requests or some temporary theme photos where they're covered in face paint, but they still want a headshot for
I
whatever
haven't,
reason?
and I love that idea. There's actually a guy in the community who every year does like a really awesome themed Halloween photo, and thank you for throwing it out there that way because, any artist, even if they have their zone, should be experimenting with stuff like that. So
Jason will
thank you
dress
for
up like Dracula.
Yeah,
because-
I'm sure he would.
Shrimp.
He'd do anything to get that shrimp on the side of the building.
Okay, well, I got
That's
a couple
what- that's
more
what
anyway.
we're talking about. David's
I'm not
in my
going
corner rolling. He wants that shrimp on the top of the building.
I'm not going to ask you about Van Halen, Dave. That's David
thank
Leroy.
you.
I'm sorry,
Thank
wrong
you.
one.
I appreciate
Okay, what is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you at a Marlins game?
Oh, probably tripping down the stairs in front of whatever crowd, people were in attendance. That I'm just running all over the stadium looking for feel good moments. So
Right.
I'm surprised I haven't twisted an ankle there yet. But yeah, just falling with all my gear and stuff. And
But no one's like after you took their picture, they jumped up and said, "Don't." I don't want you to do that.
no, it's pretty rare. I mean, if they're in, so it's funny because the marketing world loves candid pictures.
Right.
For obvious reasons. They look more engaging. They look real. But there's a distance. If you're within 10 feet of somebody or something, and you're trying to do, there's no such thing as candid. So, if I'm in close proximity, I'm just going to ask for permission and do it that way instead.
You never know who doesn't want to be on the kiss cam.
Oh, that'll happen. I mean, you can clear when somebody gives you that look. You know what they mean.
Okay, let's talk about some issues that you've had in your business. What was the biggest issue running a business since you ever started? Every business learns from mistakes, not to make them in the future. And we want our audience to know some mistakes you've made as an entrepreneur, so that way, if the next generation does what you're doing, they don't do the same thing.
I think that pace in a lot of ways is important. Some people can go at it just a crazy fast pace, and then that can you need to go at your pace would be my advice, because
I like that.
people will always come at you for what they want right away. They want it. It's always a question, and I don't know if they're just trying to gauge what my answer. But it's like, how long after we shoot will we get the images? A couple of days is standard practice. If you need it fast, we can make that happen. But don't let people bully you into packing your calendar, week after week. You have to do what's right for your scenario. Otherwise, all of a sudden, this thing that you love doing can kind of start turning into something else. So be mindful of how you're pacing your business, because especially if you're a solopreneur, it's you, and you still have to be a spouse maybe in some cases, or a parent, or whatever else. So price yourself and then pace yourself where you need to be.
And you didn't look up our headshots before you came over here, right?
Of course I did.
Well,
his at least.
Okay.
What do you give me an
Go ahead,
evaluation?
tell us. Which one? I don't know which one you. I have like 20 million
You're a
headshots.
good-looking human is all I know.
Oh, look at that, Roland.
Well, yeah, I guess you don't have to tell the truth. After
Which
you pled the
headshot did
fifth.
you look at? The LinkedIn one?
The one where you were holding the sign that said, "We want the shrimp" on the side of the building.
I like that one. So it's funny. My headshots from my wedding. So it's like
so
this
common.
thing. This thing is
wedding and bar mitzvah pictures
10 years
are
old.
so common as headshots for sure.
Okay, Roland, are we going to get him to
Well, he already pled the fifth.
double plead the fifth, so he has to
Nah.
donate more?
No, he's good. No, he hasn't tried to get out of it. No, it's no worries.
Okay, I
a very
had
good show.
one. What was it going to be? Just nightmare with data. We didn't talk about technology at all, right? Like all these photos are very large in size. So have you ever made mistakes where you sent someone the wrong photos? I know we've done that on Shrimp Tank. Like, here's the Dropbox, right? I'm like, oops. That was last week's episode, and it's all mistakes, but and people understand. But you're taking a lot of sensitive, photos at times, right? So, I guess what technology do you use? We didn't talk about that. How do you stay efficient as a solo entrepreneur? You got to book all these meetings. You got to use schedule apps. You got to be very efficient, and a lot of people not be successful entrepreneurs because they can't do all that themselves.
Yeah, I said the word caveman earlier, and in a lot of ways I am. I need to get more efficient in many aspects of my business, but I always end up saying, oh, my business is very simple. I take pictures, and I collect payment, I deliver pictures. But I use Dropbox to deliver. Yes, I've definitely sent the wrong link to the wrong customer, and fortunately they're not bikini pictures, they're just headshots, so most of the time it's not that big of a deal. But you mentioned the size. That's really the biggest thing. Like, there's definitely people in my industry who will, at the end of a session, sell you right there, and then tell you they're deleting everything that you're not buying, kind of a thing.
Yep.
Which, yeah, that stuff takes up a ton of space, so I totally get it. But I don't. Even if I were to ever say that, I don't. I'm a pack rat. I keep everything.
Yeah, but
so,
have you ever deleted anything by accident after you took a photo session and deleted the photos?
Man, I haven't yet, and I'm probably going to do it any second. Is this real wood? I haven't, and it's all the time concern. The process of getting ready for somebody to come in and making sure everything's getting backed up. As I shoot, and then they walk out, and I'll double back that up. But those files are so massive that backing up somebody's shoot even takes a long time. So technology's big. I was telling you earlier that, like, for somebody who lives in technology all the time and works in technology, I really am good with technology up until the point that I need it, and after that I'm back to caveman in a lot of ways.
Okay, last question of the day for fun over here to make you double plead the fifth. Are you not allowed to shoot certain people being married? I mean, I could sense arguments that are like, you're shooting who?
I mean,
I just get this sense, I'm married, Roland's married, and all of a sudden you say yes to a job, but then somehow it's turning into an argument telling your wife you want to be honest with her who you're shooting and what they're asking you to shoot. So has that come up?
So
and you're just trying to be professional, but I'm sure it happens.
Well, number one, like it's funny, but I mean, I don't ask her a lot of questions. My wife's a nurse. She's been a nurse for almost 15 years now at the Cleveland Clinic down in Weston. And we actually met there. It's a whole other story.
Okay.
She was a nurse. I was a patient. We'll leave it there. But
Plead the fifth on that one.
Sounds like HR policies were broken. Okay,
but no, my wife doesn't, ask questions, so to speak. I go back to the bikini on that. I mean, I could take a great picture of somebody in a bikini, but I probably just better not.
Okay.
But no, and I have an amazing wife, an amazing family. I all the time give them all the credit because and that's in the entrepreneur space and solopreneur space. You probably hear it a lot, but like, that's so important. Without the people that clear the way for you to do what you do, you might not get it done. So I give all credit to her. Period.
Great answer. I really like that because often in entrepreneurship, you are going to get a lot of critics, and including family members, right, that kind of give you crap for what you're doing. And then when you come home after a 12, 16-hour day and you had a great time doing what you were doing, but then you're getting critiqued because, you know, it could be in photography. Hey, why are you working with that group? Why are you doing that? And it's hard. You're trying to be professional and accept certain clients while you're scaling your business. And you have to do certain things that, you know, are uncomfortable. And then when you get home, that's the last place you need it. You don't want to feel uncomfortable in your own home, especially where you're doing. You're doing it at your own home. And if you were getting crap every single time someone came over, you know, you'd feel like, hey, maybe this isn't the right opportunity for me to scale my business at home. And, you know, it's so important to have people in your corner. And when you see the most successful entrepreneurs, usually you do find a spouse that's willing to kind of, you know, accept you doing what you're doing. At times.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I say it all the time. From the second I met her virtually, I was like, oh my gosh, like here's a girl that's gonna love me despite all my crazy.
Yeah.
And you know, oh wow, today's the 7th. I met that day was October 7th, 2007, when I walked into the dermatology appointment to meet my wife. So if she's watching this, I'm bringing home flowers.
Okay, flowers. We like it, and a couple shrimp. We'll put on the flowers on top of that, right? Okay, well, thanks, David, for coming into the shrimp tank today.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Audience listening, if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best route?
You can find me at dhrheadshots.com or David at dhrheadshots.com. You can find me on Instagram or any of those other places where you can bug people in DMs, and I will gladly bug you back.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming out to the Shrimp Tank. We'll be back next Thursday at 4 p.m. Take care, everybody.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it take a swim, only option